The package arrived on a Tuesday morning, and with it came Velasha's worst nightmare. She had traveled 47 light-years from her homeworld, endured the humiliation of the bride selection process, suffered through the medical examinations and the grading systems that reduced her to a list of acceptable or unacceptable traits. She had been deemed suitable until the final judgment. The Velcathy Mate Selection Agency had received the rejection message within hours, returns to stock. Insufficient physical conformity. Body composition unsuitable for breeding standards. She was too fat. By the narrow aesthetic preferences of her species' rigid genetic optimization program, her body was a failure. Now, she stood in the modest home of Thomas Chun, a human widower whose application had been rejected so many times that he'd been paired with someone no one else wanted. His wife of 30 years had died 2 years prior. His application for a new bride had been denied repeatedly. He was too old, too grief-stricken, too emotionally unstable. The Velcathy selection program didn't believe in second chances. They believed in optimization, until Thomas had requested anyone that no one else wanted. Velasha expected disappointment. She expected rejection. She expected him to examine her body with the same critical eye his species had trained him to use, measure her against the ideals, and send her back like faulty merchandise. Instead, Thomas offered her a cup of tea. "You must be tired," he said gently, gesturing to a comfortable chair. "The journey between worlds is brutal. Rest if you need to." Velasha sat carefully, afraid the furniture would judge her weight. "I understand if you wish to return me. I have been deemed unsuitable." "Unsuitable for what?" Thomas asked, sitting across from her. "For some genetic optimization program? For fitting into someone else's narrow definition of acceptable?" He shook his head. "That's not why I requested someone like you." "Then why?" Velasha's voice was barely a whisper. "Because I wanted someone who knew what it felt like to be rejected. Someone who might understand that life doesn't end when you don't fit into the boxes people build for you." Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Thomas didn't treat Velasha like a bride, a role to fulfill, a function to serve. He treated her like a person. He asked her opinions about their home and listened when she offered them. He learned that she loved cooking, a practice her species had mostly abandoned, and together they filled the kitchen with aromas and experimentation. He didn't comment on her body except to ask what foods brought her joy, what activities made her feel alive. Velasha had been taught that her body was a problem to be managed, optimized, corrected. Thomas seemed to view it as simply part of who she was, no better or worse than anyone else's, just hers. When she moved through the house, he didn't watch with judgment. When she sat beside him, he didn't flinch. When she stumbled over human social customs, he simply smiled and explained, as if her confusion was endearing rather than a flaw. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, Thomas asked her to dance with him. Velasha panicked. Dancing was a ritual her people performed only to demonstrate physical prowess and genetic suitability. She was terrified. "I can't," she whispered. "I'm not." "Not what?" Thomas interrupted gently. "Not perfect? Neither am I. Neither is anyone. But I love dancing with my wife, and I miss it. Would you dance with me? Not as a performance, but just with me." So they danced in the kitchen, two people rejected by systems designed to optimize them, moving together without grace or purpose, simply because they wanted to. Months passed. Velasha realized she was gaining more weight, not less. The stress of constant self-judgment was lifting, and her body was finding its natural rhythm. She expected Thomas to say something to express disapproval. Instead, one morning he said, "You're smiling more." "I like it." She had never considered that her body might not be a problem to solve, but simply a home she lived in. That the curves the selection agency had deemed unsuitable might simply be part of her humanity, or her Velcathy HFY, in her case. That she didn't need to shrink or optimize or perform to deserve love. One day, Thomas took her hand and said something that changed everything. "Velasha, I know this started as a transaction, but I don't want you because I'm settling. I want you because you're you, your whole self, exactly as you are. I want to offer you something that system never would. the freedom to just exist without justification. Velasha's luminescent skin glowed with warmth, a phenomenon that only occurred when her people experienced profound joy. It had happened so rarely in her life that she'd almost forgotten it was possible. "I would like to stay," she said softly. "Not as a bride, but as someone who chooses to build a life with you." And in a modest human home on a colony world, two people rejected by systems designed to perfect them discovered something far more valuable than optimization: the radical, revolutionary experience of being loved completely, exactly as they were, without qualification or condition.